I am Matt Pillar, editor at Bioprocess Online and host of the Business of Biotech podcast, and I'm thrilled that you've made the choice to join us today. I'd also like to take a second to thank Golder Products Company and Integris for supporting today's discussion on single-use systems in biopharma. Both companies are fantastic supporters of Life Science Connect and Bioprocess Online, and they've sponsored this discussion for you, so I want to encourage you to be a part of it. Please use that Q&A chat box early and often because your questions are why we're here, and we'll be addressing them throughout the hour so that we're throughout the hour or so that we're together. Now, let me introduce today's industry experts. Dr. Mark Petrich is fresh off a big win at Krystal Biotech, where he serves as VP of Process Development and Validation since leaving a long tenure at Merck to join the company in 2021. That win came in the form of an FDA approval for a first-of-its-kind redosable gene therapy called Vyjuvek last spring. And Dr. Petrich has wasted no time putting in the work on at least a dozen pre- and clinical stage candidates on its heels. Mark is a single-use advocate. He led single-use systems engineering, pilot plant operations, supplier relationship management, and laboratory automation engineering over the course of his nearly 20 years at Merck, and he currently serves as chair of the Bioprocess Systems Alliance Board of Directors. He's also a recipient of the Bioprocess International Industry Champion Award for promoting collaborative efforts in design, qualification, and application of single-use technologies in biopharma manufacturing. For his part, independent single-use expert Paul Priebe has been in the business of single-use supply and engineering for nearly 4 decades. Hard to believe looking at him. Starting out at Paul Life Sciences, spending the majority of his career at Sartorius and serving as VP of Product and Market Strategy at Cosina before beginning his consulting career in 2023. Paul is also deeply engaged at Bioprocess Systems Alliance, having served on the board there for 12 years, during which time he led the initiative to create a single-use systems complaint rate data exchange to improve single-use reliability. He's now a member of the BPSA Scientific Advisory Council, and he's a frequent instructor at Thomas Jefferson University's Jefferson Institute for Bioprocessing. Mark and Paul, welcome to Bioprocess Online Live, and a huge thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Matt. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with Paul for an hour and hopefully handle as many audience questions as we can.
Yeah, like I said, use that Q&A chat box early and often. We're here for you, so please do ask your question. I'm honored that you two have decided to spend your time with us today. There's not really a better duo I can think of to tap on the shoulder for this conversation, so I want to get right into it. Paul, you've said to me in previous conversations that single use is a foregone conclusion. You've said if you can go single use, you're going to go single use. So the first question to kick things off is why?
Yeah, so I've told this story many times. In the early days of implementation of single-use technologies, it was really a matter of convenience. Things you could just get done without having to outsource the fabrication of a piece of stainless steel equipment or something like that. But over time, it's really morphed to become from a bench level decision to what I call a C-suite level decision. And I have to credit my friend Morton Monk for this. He showed me a slide. It's got to be more than 10 years ago. And I don't know the credit to the original slide. But what it talked about was the ability to delay a decision to build a facility, which single-use technology really enables. It's on the order of somewhere in a 3 or 4 year savings, meaning you could build a single-use facility in as little as a year, let's say, and a multi-use facility more in the neighborhood of 5 years. So a 3 or 4 year differential, during which time the molecule is progressing through the clinical phases. And so the avoidance of capital risk, meaning betting on the wrong facility or building a facility for a molecule that never makes it to commercial production, is something I think the C-suite worries a lot about. And anyone who's been in our industry for, well, longer than a couple of years now, we have a famous example, certainly the Biogen facility in Switzerland, built to support a drug that's now been pulled from the market. It did make it through the clinic and was commercialized, but in any event, it wasn't as successful as originally thought. So these, multi-billion-dollar white elephants certainly loom large in people's minds. And Biogen's not the only one. I mean, certainly if you've been around a couple of decades, there have been some famous examples where this exact thing happens, either for late-stage clinical failure or something like that. So really, I see this as transitioning to a strategic, high-level decision that with more clinical data, you can make a better bet with your capital.
Yeah.
And somebody might say, well, what about contract manufacturing, right? Well, that's just sort of spreading that risk across maybe more than one sponsor. The risk still exists, and the CDMO's business models can't tolerate amortization of risk, so their sponsors are going to take it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Mark, anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, interesting. I'd like to see that slide sometime, Paul, that Morton shared with you. But what single-use technology does for a newer company, it gives you the opportunity to get started a whole lot faster. Building traditional facilities, and some of these are spectacularly beautifully engineered, and I saw many of them in my career at Merck. But they take a long time to build, and as Paul said, you got to be really sure that this is what you want to use. And at the same time, if you go to a CMO, it's unlikely that they're going to have exactly the equipment that you're going to need. So going with the single-use option, you can design, source, select quicker. You can also make changes as you go. It's a little bit tougher, not impossible, but a little bit tougher with stainless steel. So flexibility that single-use technology gives, I think, has enabled a lot of companies to get going a whole lot faster in the past decade.